The video that we thought was going to be a one-time, one-off gaffe by New York's socialist representative has mutated into the crisis of the week.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are.
But now we're sitting here with a week's worth of news stories that are all interrelated, and they all pertain to the freshman representative and the crisis at the border. Just to review, all of this started when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made an Instagram live video calling our detention centers on the border concentration camps. I made a solo video on this, and I'll link that in the description below because it's a good starting point to everything that we have going on. Now, when Cortez was called out on this, she assured us that she was simply using the dictionary definition, which includes a detention center for refugees, but she used very pointed language to try and make sure that all of her followers were thinking that this was a Nazi Germany type thing. We thought this news story had gone away, but at the end of last week, some pictures started circulating, and they portrayed the freshman representative crying while standing at a fence. Even before all of the facts came in on this, there were already sharp criticisms about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the fact that this was supposedly a staged photo opportunity. People were saying that these were fake tears that she was crying, and even more people were out there pointing out the fact that she's saying that there's no money to go around for any of these people, but she walked up to the border wearing an expensive suit and a $10,000 watch. Later on in the week, some panned-out versions of the photos started to circulate, and they showed what the original photo showed, Cortez and some of her followers standing at a fence and crying. But as we panned out, we saw that Cortez was looking down into an empty parking lot when she cried her tears of rage for the conditions at the border. Now, I don't know if this confirms that this was a photo op or this was a staged event. All I know is that it throws everything else into question at this point. About the same time that the panned-out versions of the crying photos started circulating, online retailer Wayfair came into the news for something that was as well related to the crisis at the border. Now, Wayfair had been contracted to sell $200,000 worth of beds to a Texas contractor, and it was later revealed that this contractor was working with the Texas Department of Health and Human Services. These beds were going to the detention centers on the border to make sure that everybody had a bed to sleep in, as more people were being apprehended and taken into custody at the border. It's important to keep in mind as we look at this story that Wayfair was not asked to provide the beds free of charge. They were selling them. There may have been a bulk rate discount because the contractor was buying so many at one time, but for the most part they were being sold at a full fair market value. Some employees of the Boston-based seller did some digging when they found this massive order coming in and going down to Texas, and it was found out that the destination for these beds was indeed to go to the detention camps, and this is something that the employees of the online retailer did not agree with. The first step by the employees was of course a peaceful one. The employees came together and wrote a petition to request that Wayfair cease their activities with the Texas contractor. And this was a petition that was very popular among the Boston-based seller. Within a few hours, it had acquired 547 signatures, but the employees did have a backup plan. They stated that if Wayfair did not cease their activity, they were going to stage a walkout on the company. And of course, Wayfair caved to the pressure, but before they did, I had joked on social media that Wayfair was going to be hiring in the very near future. This entire argument came to a head this week on Wednesday when a group of lawmakers led by everybody's favorite socialist, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, went to tour a Border Patrol facility down in Texas. Cortez immediately went on the offensive as soon as the tour was over, saying that there were lewd jokes being made about the other Hispanic congresswoman that was with her herself, and of course the Hispanic immigrant women that were in detention in the facilities. She was saying that the Border Patrol agents were giving her dirty looks, making jokes about her, and there was even an accusation that Cortez thought that some of the Border Patrol agents wanted to get intimate with her as she was walking through the facility. And of course, we had the world-famous accusation that the women in these detention centers were being forced to drink out of the toilet, an accusation that has been debunked many times over, mostly due to the fact that a toilet in a detention facility, because of space, usually has a water fountain on top and serves a dual purpose. Now, in true fashion and a true demonstration of today's politics, Border Patrol has laid its own accusations against the freshman representatives. There are claims that AOC went into the Border Patrol facility screaming, and she was name-calling. She called the Border Patrol agents Nazis. There are detractors out there that say that this was simply an inference of the fact that Cortez called the camps concentration camps in her famous Instagram live video, but there are also claims that have been laid by the Border Patrol that Cortez came in and was threatening all of the agents with their jobs, saying that their department wouldn't exist anymore, they wouldn't be able to feed their families anymore, and they wouldn't have jobs anymore. Now, as of right now, this is nothing but a he said, she said situation, but there has been a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, to see what actually happened and to get to the bottom of these claims. Now, why is all of this happening now? I talked a bit about this on my solo video talking about Cortez's Instagram live video, and Linda B and I talked a bit more about this on the podcast when she joined me to talk a bit more about the Instagram live video. And there were a lot of things going on and a lot of moving parts at the time. China was coming to the table on a foreign policy when Mexico had just backed down off the tariff war and we had another diplomatic win over there. But there seems to be a new development in this story and something new that we have to consider given the fact that this is all happening this week and at the end of last week. While the full clown car of Democrats was preparing for their debates last week, a $4.58 billion funding bill for border enforcement passed through the House, Senate, and made it to the president's desk. And it passed by margins that I did not think we were ever going to see in today's partisan environment ever again. The bill passed 84-8 in the Senate and 305-102 in the House, which means it did wind up having heavy Democrat support in both chambers. And congressional Democrats are starting to realize that this is an issue that goes well beyond partisanship and goes directly into humanitarianism, something that they all run on. In today's partisan environment, it is amazing to see Democrats and Republicans start to come together and work together to start to pass bills that will actually help the American people, rather than Republicans gloating about the fact that they are on top right now and Democrats being the party of resistance. But partisan progressives like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez must keep this as a partisan issue. Cortez complained about the squalid conditions on the border much in the same way that the Wayfair employees did when they penned their petition, but both the Congresswoman and the group of employees from Wayfair actively tried to stop any sort of financial relief or any other kind of relief for the migrants at the border or the people that are tasked with protecting the border. It seems right now that it's more important to deny the GOP and the Trump administration a win than to do anything to help. What do you think about the recent border visits? And do you believe Cortez or do you believe the Border Patrol agents? I always welcome a thoughtful and positive discussion in the comment section below and especially over on Twitter. That is at Ed's Blog Twitter with a 1 in place of the I. Thanks as always for listening to this show and supporting this channel. And remember, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Take care.